The BYU Cougars receiving a commitment from Ryder Lyons is obviously humongous news. In fact, it's the best commit in BYU football history by a wide margin. But the best news is it's going to have an impact and reverberate for years to come.
You are Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast on the BYU Cougars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? Welcome into Locked On Cougars, your daily podcast focused on the BYU Cougars. I'm Jake Hatch, executive producer at the KSL Sports Zone in Salt Lake City, Utah, and a 13-year credentialed media member at BYU. I am your resident expert and insider on this here podcast, and as always, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. All right, coming up on today's show, we are going to talk about BYU football and the impact that Ryder Lyons will have on BYU, both present and future. Then we're going to talk about Aaron Roderick and the future of the BYU quarterback position with Ryder Lyons now in the fold. And then we'll finish up today's show on the NBA draft front. It is Jaeger Demon's time to shine under the spotlight at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York tonight. We'll talk about what to expect from that as we roll through today's podcast. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Go to monarchmoney.com. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege and get 50% off your first year. All right, let's talk Ryder Lyons. Obviously, huge news yesterday. It announced on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN that he will be a BYU Cougar. I said it in the special edition of the podcast that I did. He is the best commit in BYU football history, and I stand by that because you can go back and look at the monumental commitment back, or the signing, I should say, in 2003, and that one obviously is in the same vicinity in terms of the overall star rating system. But I'm telling you, in this day and age, the star rating system, in my opinion, is far more sophisticated than it was in the early 2000s. So that's why I believe that Ryder Lyons is undoubtedly the best pickup in BYU's program history, at least in the modern recruiting era, I would call it. The best part about this is it's not going to have just an impact now, because it's going to have that impact. Obviously, it made headline news around the country. It was on ESPN and every other major network out there that a guy who's a top 15 prospect, the number 4 quarterback right now, the number 1 prospect in the state of California, is going to play for Brigham Young University. That is absolute headline news. And for the second time in less than a year, BYU has a top-tier recruit like AJ DeBonsa, who did it on Stephen A. Smith's First Take show. You have a guy like Ryder Lyons appearing on the Pat McAfee show on national television and repping the Y. It's absolutely incredible to watch what BYU's doing. And I don't know if BYU's got some executive that just absolutely loves the Cougars. They've got people that are alumni that are pulling strings. But for BYU to have a guy like AJ DeBonsa on the basketball front, who's a 100 rated recruit, he's the top recruit by many recruiting services in basketball, to show up on First Take and go back and forth with Stephen A. Smith about why he picked BYU. And now you have Ryder Lyons on Pat McAfee, who's a composite 99 rating. We're talking right in the same vicinity in terms of their expected impact and the overall ratings for these two players. To have them on national television, it makes a whole lot of sense and a whole lot of headlines that BYU is doing this. We've got national newsmakers breaking news about BYU basketball and football. Pete Thamel, Adrian Wojnarowski before he hung it up, Shams Charania. It's awesome to see that. And that has an immediate impact because it keeps BYU in the headlines right now. The best part about the fact that Ryder Lyons, whether he's going to serve a 1-year mission or however long he's going to be in the mission field for. And by the way, I'm going to step aside for a second and talk about that real quick to clarify it. I've said it before on this podcast. I'll say it again. Ryder Lyons says he's going to serve a 1-year mission. He has not got a call that's going to just say you're serving for 12 months. That is not a thing. I have talked to people who would know. Let's just put it that way. It'll be a 2-year call to serve for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints wherever they assign him to serve as a missionary. His older brother Walker served in Oslo, Norway, and I believe served 14 months before he returned home to suit up for the USC Trojans. But Ryder Lyons is expected to be back in time for the 2027 season. That lines up that BYU right now in the remainder of their 2026 recruiting class can talk to guys, whether they're going on missions or not, and say, hey, in relatively short amount of time, Ryder Lyons will be back here, and you can be a part of the rise we hope to have with him under center for the BYU program. Then you go to the 2027 class, which you're already getting the groundwork laid for to do recruiting there, and say, hey, you guys want to sign with BYU? Because that kid right there that made headline news was on ESPN. He's a 5-star prospect. Yeah, he's going to be the quarterback coming in with your class. That's going to excite people in the 2027 class. And then 2028 even, or 2029, you can go to those prospects and say, hey, by the time this guy is what we expect to be hitting his stride as BYU's star quarterback, you could be in this program. You could be catching balls from him. You could playing running back alongside him. You could be protecting him on the offensive line. It is going to have an impact on the recruiting front for BYU, and it's going to reverberate, as I said in the open of today's show, literally for years to come, and it's going to impact multiple recruiting classes. 5-star prospects, if you go by 24/7 Sports rating system, they pick 32 of them. You know why they pick 32 guys in their 5 stars? It's because they believe those are the 32 best prospects that they believe in 3 or 4 year or 5 years time will be first-round draft picks in the NFL draft. They limit that 5-star status to a select number of athletes, but they truly believe they are the cream of the crop. They are the best of the best. And when you get one of those guys, or in some cases, other programs get multiple of them, it absolutely has a major impact on the fortunes of your football program. And that's what Ryder Lyons is going to be able to do for the BYU football program, as I mentioned, both here in the present and on into the future, because he's going to obviously resonate with these young men who are in the upcoming recruiting classes because they've seen him on ESPN. They have seen the news about him and all the hubbub about how good of a player he is. And you know what guys like to do? They like to play for winning programs. And more importantly than that, they like to play they like to play with guys they think are going to elevate them and help them along their path to hopefully playing professional football and winning a whole lot in the college realm. Kalani Sitake, Aaron Roderick, Jay Hill, and the rest of the BYU staff have got an absolute gold mine on their hands right now because they are going to be able to go out on the recruiting front and carry a whole lot of momentum that's already behind them, finishing out this 2026 class, pushing ahead to 2027, even into, as I mentioned, 28, 29, heck, even maybe the 2030 class, and say to guys, if you want to come and play with the likes of a Ryder Lions, and also you can include a Brock Harris, you can include a Batmu Latalo, the talent that's going to be rolling into the BYU football program beginning as soon as next year, it's unlike many classes BYU has literally ever seen. I'll say it again on this podcast. The 2026 recruiting class for BYU, if it holds as it is right now, and in fact, it could even get better given some time with some other prospects out there who may be committing in the coming days and weeks, this could be the best and what I believe will be the best recruiting class in BYU football history. And the crown jewel of it, the headliner, the guy who carries all of the weight, I guess you would call it, of that, is the man himself, Ryder Lyons. That is the type of impact he is having on the BYU football program. And by golly, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this play out because it feels like the Cougars in basketball and now in football have got major momentum, and they're bringing in top shelf elite talent. And that should help BYU on their climb to rising to the top of the Big 12 and hopefully challenging for national superiority in the college football playoff. And heck, maybe even dreaming of a national championship. All right, coming up next, we're going to continue the talk on the BYU football front. Aaron Roderick, he has got a lot of quarterbacks coming in these next couple of recruiting cycles. What does the future look like for BYU at quarterback? And also, has A-Rod quieted his critics? We'll get into all that next as we roll on right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends, a new friend over at Rougiette. Now, many of you probably have heard of Viagra or Cialis, maybe even tried them. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. The best part is Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours. And the best part is if your traditional options have not worked for you, Rougiette might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. And the best part is it's completely online. They connect you with a board-certified doctor and ship your treatments to you discreetly at your door. So if you're ready to get started today, head to Rougiette.com/LockedOnCollege. Use the promo code LockedOnCollege and get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use the promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off when you get started with Rougiette. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you have not done so already, what are you waiting for? Can subscribe, rate, and review the show. Help us build this audience. We've had an incredible 2025 to date. And also, if you'd like to, be a sponsor here on the show, promote your product, your company, whatever you've got, please reach out to us. LockedOnBYU@gmail.com is the way to get in contact with us. We'll get you on the road to advertising success right here on Locked On Cougars and the Locked On Podcast Network. All right. So let's talk BYU quarterbacks now going forward. Some of you might recall we had Jeff Hansen on the podcast not that long ago, and I posited the question to him at that time about if, and the question was if at that point, BYU were to land Ryder Lyons, would it shut up the critics of Aaron Roderick? And both he and I agreed that yes, it should. And well, lo and behold, Ryder Lyons is a BYU Cougar. So is that going to truly quiet Cougar fans who don't like A-Rod or think that he's overmatched or whatever you think about Aaron Roderick? I think it should quiet some of the criticism about him because he just landed an absolutely elite talent. Like, truthfully, one of the more elite talents we have seen in recent memory for BYU on the recruiting front. I talked about it on this podcast. I've talked about it previously, but Ryder Lyons is a 99 in the composite ratings on 24/7 Sports. And if you look at the composite ratings for a guy like AJ DeBonsa on the basketball side of things, he's 100. They're in the same ilk in terms of their overall ratings. And the thought is they're both premier prospects who are capable of elevating the program or programs that they play for, speaking of BYU basketball and BYU football, respectively. That is awesome to have. And yes, it should quiet some of the criticism of Aaron Roderick because he's now checked that box off that some people have said that he can't recruit and land an elite talent at quarterback because he just did. Ryder Lyons is just that. The best news is, I think, beyond that, for a guy like Aaron Roderick, is he has stocked his quarterback room. He has brought in recently Bear Bachmeier, who is a 4-star prospect in his own right and figures to be in the mix as soon as maybe training camp or maybe a little bit into the season and at the very latest by next spring. You already have McKay Hillstead and Trayson Bourget, who have got Division I starts under their belt, who are transfers into this program. I've had people tell me that they believe that a guy like Emerson Geilman, who will kind of be the freshman who's holding the clipboard, to use that expression, this fall for BYU football, they think in time he could emerge as a really, really fine quarterback for BYU. They say to me all the time, all he did was prove himself time and time again at Bountiful Jake, and for whatever reason got overlooked in the recruiting process, but they're very high on his potential. BYU brings home Enoch Watson off of a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints upcoming this offseason. And he obviously is expected to be in the fray. And I've had people describe to me that he is what they call a dog. And he is going to be unafraid of anybody competing with him for playing time when it comes to quarterback at BYU. You mix in Keneal Sweetwine, who, let's put it this way, Keneal Sweetwine might emerge as the best quarterback in the state of Utah this year in the high school ranks at Skyridge High School. He is an incredible athlete. He's really coming into his own, from what I understand, at the quarterback position. And that's why BYU offered him as a quarterback. They didn't offer him as an athlete. They offered him as a quarterback, and they expect him to be in the mix as soon as next year, as he is anticipated to enroll right away as part of the 2026 recruiting cycle. Ryder Lyons does not, I think, have a guarantee, nor should he have a guarantee that when he returns in 2027, that the job is his at BYU. Kalani Sitake has been very clear that playing time at BYU is a privilege, and you earn that by proving yourself on the field in practice and earning the right to be the guy in Provo, Utah. Ryder Lyons, on paper, probably has the best skill set, the best talent, the most elite in terms of the prowess of any of the quarterbacks I've already listed on today's show. But when he returns from that mission, he is going to have to go out there and beat out a number of other guys who are not going to want to cede a single inch to him when it comes to playing time. They're all hoping to live their dream as a BYU quarterback, or else they wouldn't have committed to the BYU football program. They see what the quarterback position means in BYU football history. They know the history. They know what Cougar fans expect of this. But when things are going good for BYU, quarterback play is usually why they are standing out. And that's why I think young men are so willing to be a part of this right now for the BYU football program. And yes, Aaron Roderick, his quarterback room on paper right now should be stacked and should have him feeling quite comfortable going into the next decade, because if you kind of time it all out here, you're going to have guys overlapping, but every one of them, if they pan out and they become the guy for BYU, well, that means there's 2 and 3 years potentially when they're starting as the quarterback, and should take you through at least 2030. I'm not going to say that BYU is not going to recruit a guy in 27, 28, 29, and 30 because history suggests that 1 or 2 or 3 of these guys will get fed up with the lack of playing time and transfer out of the program. And what you have to do is you have to backfill, whether it's via the high school ranks, whether that's via transfer portal, junior college, whatever it might be. Aaron Roderick has proven that he can bring in talent to BYU and he can develop it. And those of you who want me to reiterate once again, he is a big key reason why Zach Wilson, why Jaron Hall, why a Jake Retzlaff have emerged as the type of talents that they are, because they're under the tutelage of a guy like Aaron Roderick. I get accused often of being an Aaron Roderick homer, and I will own that. I think Aaron Roderick is severely underrated in what he means to the BYU football program, but history tells us that the offensive coordinator at BYU, you sign up to be a punching bag. You don't have to look back very far in their history. Norm Chow, it felt like for 2 decades, was that punching bag. Aaron Roderick played for Norm Chow. He has talked with Norm Chow often, I'm sure, and I think they can commiserate over the fact, when we're the play caller in Provo on the offense, you get beat up a lot in terms of social media and the reaction from the fans. But that's just part of it. Because I will say this about Cougar fans. Y'all know elite football when you see it. And you've been treated to some elite football for the better part of a half a century. You go back, quarterback play has been synonymous with elite BYU football for better part of 50 plus years. You can go back all the way to Virgil Carter in the 1960s, but it really got going with Gary Scheide. It rolls through Mark Wilson, the Gifford Nilssons, the Jim McMahon, Steve Young, Robbie Bosco, Ty Detmer. Man, you can roll through John Beck, Max Hall, Taysom Hill. Zach Wilson, Jaron Hall. There have been elite quarterbacks, and the pantheon is stuffed full of guys that BYU fans would consider among, if not their favorites, in terms of who they watched and who they really thought was the best quarterback in program history. Well, guess what? It sure looks like the future for BYU at the position is set, and Ryder Lyons is right there near the top, and for good reason, because he is absolutely elite on paper. There is just no doubt about that. I know that some of you have said, well, what about Ben Olsen? And what about us buying into Jake Heaps? Hey, it didn't pan out for those guys, and I can readily admit that. But I think that in this day and age, with how much planning, how many camps, how many showcase events, the different things that guys go through to get the ratings they get from these recruiting services, I think they're better served now in terms of them being an elite prospect now than they were in the era of Ben Olsen, or even when Jake Heaps came out in 2010. Olsen was in 03, if I recall correctly. They have got, I think, a more clear view of what a guy like Ryder Lyons is. And BYU saw that talent very early on. You heard him say it on Pat McAfee. BYU was his first offer in 8th grade. So BYU's been in it from the very get-go with this kid. And what begins well, ends well, apparently, for BYU. And the hope is that will continue on into when he finally suits up for the Cougars, that in a time he can emerge atop the heap of some really, really talented quarterbacks. And whoever it might be, the hope is that BYU does a lot of winning along the way and finally finds themselves atop the Big 12 conference, playing in the college football playoff, and heck, maybe even challenging for national supremacy and a national championship to pair with the one they have from 1984. That's the dream. So the quarterback position, I think, is well stocked, and I do think we can tone down a little bit of the rhetoric when it comes to Aaron Roderick, because I think he continues to answer his as to what he truly can accomplish as BYU's offensive coordinator. All right, coming up next, we're going to flip over to basketball just for a little bit. It is the NBA draft tonight in Brooklyn, New York. Jaeger Demon's supposed to go early on in the first round of the NBA draft, and he fulfills the statement that Kevin Young had when he first came on the job at BYU, and it's really cool to see it come into fruition. We'll talk about that next right here on Locked On Cougars. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Now, if you ever wished you could manage your money easier with Monarch Money, you absolutely can do that. Whether you're growing your savings or planning for a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat so you have full control. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your money. It's more than just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center where you can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth along the way. And the best part is, with our friends at Monarch Money, you can have everything right there in one app. I have gotten so tired of having to jump from app to app to app, seemingly to keep track of all my finances. The best part is Monarch Money brings it all into one app, so you can open it up and see exactly what's going on. As I mentioned, it's a complete command center that helps you track all of your finances. And the best part is also can help you keep things nice and tidy with your significant other along the way as well. So take control of your finances and do it with our friends over at Monarch Money. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. Thank you once again for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. If you have not done so already, what are you waiting for? Sign up for the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. Get the inside scoop on all things BYU sports. And I am hearing from my, call them hashtag sources, if you want, passed along to you via text message coming right directly to your phone. It's a crazy time, obviously, with the Ryder Lions news. But if you want to be a part of it, no time like the present, sign up at the link in the show notes below or reach out to us via social media or a comment. We'll get you squared away. And the best part is just $5 a month to be a part of the Insiders Group. And you can get a 14-day free trial, just 2 full weeks before you have to pay a single penny to be a part of the Locked On Cougars Insider Group. All right, tonight is the NBA draft. Jaeger Demon is expected to hear his name early on in this draft. I'm reckoning from everything I've heard from people that you'll probably hear him in the back half of the lottery. So think kind of picks 7 through 15. But the thing about this is there's an unpredictable nature to the NBA draft. If a team absolutely falls in love with Jaeger Demon and they're further down in the draft order and they feel like, hey, we got to jump up and get this guy, you could see a team leap up and maybe pick him with the 6th or 5th pick. I know the 5th pick's the Utah Jazz, but that's the homer in me speaking, because I would love nothing more than to see Jaeger Demon still playing here in the state of Utah. But all the reports say that the Jazz are looking elsewhere. The nice part is, if you're a BYU basketball fan, Jaeger Demon is officially tonight going to kick off what Kevin Young said will be the most NBA type program and NBA pipeline ready program in college basketball. And there are those out there who say that that's Duke, that's North Carolina or Kentucky or insert blue blood basketball program. The nice part about Kevin Young is he's got proof in the pudding literally after his first year as BYU basketball head coach. Jaeger Demon trusted him sight unseen to come to Utah and play in Provo, Utah for the BYU Cougars, and now he's going to be a lottery pick in the NBA draft. Next year, AJ DeBonsa is the odds-on favorite to be the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. We're talking the best of the best. The guy who makes the most money is the first guy up on the stage hugging Adam Silver. You can expect to see that next year. Richie Saunders has really come into his own, and Kevin Young believes that he is going to be an NBA draft pick in his own right. On down the line, as you look at the future for the BYU basketball program, it looks extremely bright, but Jaeger Demon gets first dibs as the guy who, I guess you call it, kicks off the NBA pipeline era for the BYU basketball program. I'm excited to see what Jaeger Demon can do in the NBA, because I believe exactly what Kevin Young believes, that the spacing and the rules that the NBA, the freedom of movement, I guess I should say, the NBA allows with their rules, because you can't hand check guys, you can't grab and hold on to guys like you can in college basketball. That has frustrated Kevin Young to no end with the rules and the officiating in college basketball. Jaeger Demon is going to thrive, I think, at an even higher level in the NBA than he did at BYU, and had some really, really high moments in a Cougar uniform, particularly as BYU made that run to the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament. When the lights were the brightest, under the lights at the NCAA tournament in March Madness, Jaeger Demon stepped to the forefront and really, I thought, shone as bright as he did all season long. And once again, this was a kid that coming into the season had NBA lottery hype around him. So it was very clear that he was going to be under the microscope all season long. People are going to dissect his play, his shooting, his body, his overall prowess on the court. Is he able to get to the rim? Is his passing as elite as it's been thought to be? Everything about it, I think Jaeger Demon answered those questions outside of the shooting question. But if you believe the reports about the visits he's made during the pre-draft process, as I understand it, he visited more than 15, so more than half of the teams in the NBA brought him in for visits. He has shown an improved shooting ability in those workouts. So I expect that Jaeger Demon is going to be a guy that Cougar fans are going to be very excited to watch playing for whoever, insert team here from the NBA. Because I know one thing I love about Cougar fans is you guys track your former Cougars, and it comes with the NFL, it comes with the NBA. And Jaeger Demon, whether he's a Chicago Bull or he's an Oklahoma City Thunder, or what Oklahoma City Thunder is that? Did we really call him? Nonetheless, wherever he lands, The fun part about it is he is going to make an impact. Is he going to be the NBA Rookie of the Year? Probably not. There's so many other guys. I think Cooper Flagg absolutely should be the odds-on favorite just with the role he's stepping into with the Dallas Mavericks to be the NBA Rookie of the Year. But Jaeger Demon, he doesn't have to go into one of these NBA teams and say, hey, I'm the guy. Give me the ball. I love the fact that he's very capable both with the ball in his hands and also being able to play off the ball in a spot-up role if need be, because that's the versatility that NBA teams crave with a guy like Jaeger Demon. It's great that he's 6'9". He can handle the basketball. He can initiate the offense. He can see over the top of the defense and create angles and passing lanes that otherwise wouldn't exist for a guy who's maybe 4 or 5 inches shorter than he is. That's all fantastic stuff. And that's people I've talked to that I trust when it comes to NBA stuff. They have talked about the fact that Jaeger Demon, his ability to kind of change the whole trajectory of how the court looks with his spacing ability and his passing, it's going to open up offense wherever he plays to work more efficiently. And like I said, it doesn't have to be where he has to have the ball in his hands every single play. He can initiate the offense if need, but he is also capable of being that link-up player. I've had one person mention to me, imagine a Nikola Jokic type passer in the high post, but doesn't have to handle the ball in terms of really getting things going. You can have a guy bring the ball up, toss it into Jaeger Demon in the high post, and then he's just picking off guys as they're cutting to the basket with his ability to pass from the high post. I'm not saying he's Nikola Jokic. Let me be very blunt about that because let's say Nikola Jokic is probably 100 pounds heavier than Jaeger Demon, but I'm talking about the passing ability and the ability to really make an offense flow. That's what Jaeger Demon brings. And if his shooting truly has improved and what he has shown in these workouts is replicable, guess what? NBA teams, whoever that team is that picks him up, is going to be absolutely over the moon with having him as a member of their basketball program. And I'm excited for it. It should be an exciting time to watch what Jaeger Demon does tonight. I'm excited to see him pull on that cap, hold up whatever jersey it is, and root him on from afar, wherever he is, even if it's not in Utah, even though I expect him to be elsewhere. I'm a Jazz homer. I think as many of you are probably well aware, but I would love to see Jaeger suiting up for the Utah Jazz, but it doesn't look like that is in the cards unless something crazy happens. But alas, I think the bigger news is that BYU, what Kevin Young has said is going to be the most NBA-friendly model that he can replicate in the college ranks. Well, the first product of that is going to be on full display tonight in the Barclays Center. And get ready, folks, because it feels like it's just the first of many incoming NBA drafts. And that's an exciting time. Who knows how long Kevin Young decides to stick around in Provo? The interest from the Phoenix Suns after literally just 1 year in Provo, you can expect that that's going to come every single offseason so long as he continues to have success at BYU. The nice part is it sure seems like Kevin Young, he's very content where he's at. His family's happy. He's happy. And as I mentioned, he has made this into a true NBA factory, as he said in his initial debut press conference when he spoke to the media. He said, I'm going to make this place an NBA pipeline. We're going to make it a place where players want to come, and they're going to be able to emerge on the other side and be NBA players. I'm so excited to watch what Jaeger Demon is going to do in the NBA, but it's a really, really exciting time overall for the BYU basketball program because it sets up for next year when you expect both AJ DeBonsa as well as a guy like Richie Saunders and heck, maybe even a Keba Keita should he continue to progress along the path. You could see multiple guys every single year for the foreseeable future hearing their name called in the NBA draft. And let's be honest, it's been a long time since that has happened. I should have done some research on this. I cannot remember the last time it happened for BYU, in fact. So exciting times and looking forward to seeing what Jaeger Demon does tonight on the stage there at the Barclays Center. All right, that is going to do it for today's edition of the podcast. As always, thank you for subscribing, rating, reviewing, sharing this with your family and friends, and helping us build this audience. We have had an absolutely incredible 2025 so far, and it doesn't look like it's slowing down anytime soon. So as always, once again, thank you for making Locked On Cougars your first listen of the day. And until tomorrow, everybody, thank you for being an everydayer right here on the Locked On Cougars podcast.